Hello student, welcome to online tutorial session. Today we will learn about the topic called user interface. Okay, so an operating systems provide an interface through which the user interacts with the system. So the common type of interface, there are two type of interface are available. Let's elaborate what is interface actually all about. Okay, so the facility is a communication between an application and the user by acting as an intermediary between them, this user interface. So each application, including the operating system, is provided with a specific UI for effective communication. So the two basic functions of the user interface of an application is to take the inputs from the user and to provide the output to the user. However, this type of inputs taken by the U and this type of output provided by the UI may varies from the application to another. Okay, so the user interface of any operating system can be classified into two following ways. One is the graphical user interface, another one is the command line user interface. Let's first talk about the graphical user interface that you are mostly familiar with. Okay, uh, so graphical user interface is a type of GUI that enables the user to interact with the operating system by means of point and click operations. Okay, so GUI contains several icons representing the pictorial representation of a variable such as a file, directories and devices. So graphical icons provided in the UI can be manipulated by the user using a suitable pointing device such as mouse, trackball, touchscreen, light pens. Okay, the other input devices like keyboard can also be used to manipulate these graphical icons. So GUI are considered to be very user friendly interface because each object is represented with a corresponding icons. So unlike other, this UIs, the user needs not to provide any text commands for executing these tasks. Okay, so actually the GUI provides the Windows a menu based graphical interface. Okay, so that you can operate it by using the pointing devices. Okay, so the mouse can be used to point and click the images or the icons to execute the commands. It can give you the command to open a folder or run programs. Okay, so the main beauty is that we don't need to remember any commands or don't need to type any commands for the execution. Okay, so there are similar type of icons or pictures are used to represent the same type of command that we are using in command line user set. Okay, so suppose I want to delete a particular file. Okay, let's its name is test.txt. Okay, so user, what you have to do, that user simply has to click to the right mouse button over this file icon and selected the delete option from the drop down menu display and it will be deleted. So it is as simple as that by choosing this one. Okay, now if we are using the command line interface, that is CLI, what will happen? The command line interface is a type of UI that enables the user to interact with the operating system by using some specific commands. Okay, so in order to perform a task in this interface, the user needs to type the command at the command line. Okay, when the user enters the key, the command line interpret receive a command. The software programs that is responsible for receiving and processing the commands issued by the user. After processing the commands are called command line interpreter. Okay, the command line interpreter display the command prompt again along with the output of the previous command issued by the user. So the main disadvantage of the CLI is the user need to remember a lot to interact with the operating system. So therefore this type of interface are not considered as a very friendly, not actually a user friendly way. So and command line interface also called a character user interface. Okay, so this because it is actually the mode of communication is by typing the text command. Okay, so like for creating or deleting or editing or modifying or printing file, for each and every cases we need a command. Okay, so each command is required to execute it. Now so suppose in a CLI format, in a command line user interface, we try to delete a particular file or something. Okay, typed and run. So it is a executable command is there, that is del. If you have to write the command del, then we have to type the file name that we are doing. Okay, if we are calculating it, then what will happen? Then it will be deleted. But for this reason, we have to write the command. But in case of Windows, we don't need to write anything. So let's just put a light on the what is the difference between CUI and a GUI. Okay, so the in case of character user interface, the commands have to be typed in the command line to execute them. Okay, but in the graphical user interface, one can point and click one icon to execute the command. Okay, number two, in the commands, I need to be remember to be able to type and execute them. But in commands, need not to be remember as they are executed by simply clicking on icon in the graphical user interface. Okay, so different programs may have a different commands for the same job. While Control plus X is used in edit application of a DOS, and the Shift plus Del key used in the Turbo C program interface to cut a portion of a text. Usually, an universal icon is used to represent a popular command. Okay, for example, to cut a portion of a text, we have a symbol of a Caesar is used for an icon in all the GUI based applications. Okay, number four, the drag and drop features are usually absent over here because this makes the execution of a certain command lengthy. But the drag and drop facilities are available in the graphical user interface, which make a certain command execution more easier. Okay. Now, number fifth point. So these are the less user friendly, as I have discussed earlier why it is a less user friendly. And the graphical user interface, these are the most user friendly one. So if anyone's asking you the example, so DOS is a example of a character user interface, and graphical user interface example is the Windows. Okay, so a very common part. Okay, let's quickly we learn that what actually the main difference between Windows and DOS. Okay, so the DOS has a character user interface, but some people find difficult to run as all the commands needed to be memorized. In Windows, it is a graphical user interface, making it easier for the new user to learn and use the system. So in DOS, the different screen modes are used for the graphical and textual data. But in graphical textual data can be represented under a one screen Windows. Okay. So in case of DOS, it restricts the user to 8-character file name with a 3-character extension. But it's allow the file name in case of Windows 255 character long, including blank and any certain punctuation mark. Okay, so DOS is a single user, single task operating system, but the Windows is a multi-user, multi-task operating system. Okay, in case of DOS, plug and play options are not available, but in case of Windows, features of plug and play options is available from Windows 95. Okay, number 6 point. So use of mouse and drag and drop features are usually absent over here. So this makes the execution of a certain command lengthy and difficult. But drag and drop features make a certain command execution easier. Okay, like by like dragging a file from one folder to another to copy it. So these are actually the main difference between DOS and Windows. I hope the user interface, the differences between DOS and Windows is clear. Thank you, student. I'm ending my lecture over here.